Thank you for joining Cancer Support Community Atlanta for this cooking demo, facilitated by Ashley Van Sice.
Please visit our website, cscatlanta.org, for a complete list of live and recorded events. We invite you to sign up for our newsletter to stay connected to all future programs.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's cooking demo. This is Emily Brown, the Program Director at Cancer Support Community Atlanta. I will go ahead and introduce our wonderful chef, Ashley, who does these cooking demos for us every month. And today is cooking with turmeric. So Chef Ashley, I will let you take it away.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we are going to be cooking with turmeric. And when you hear the phrase food is medicine, the first thing that comes to mind is turmeric, because it is one of those foods that has so many beneficial effects in the body. So we are doing two different recipes today using turmeric as sort of like the star ingredient. And I'm going to start by getting this turmeric chicken and rice going and in the oven, because it takes a good while to bake. So on this recipe, we're actually using chicken. We haven't used chicken in this class in a really long time. So let me know your thoughts on chicken in the chat box if you guys have any feedback on using that in these cooking classes. We normally do like pretty strictly plant-based. So anyways, I had this recipe. It really does highlight turmeric really, really well. So hopefully you guys will like it. We're going to start by getting our onion ready. This is just a yellow onion. I'm going to take off the top and the bottom in order to easily remove that skin. And then we're going to slice it up and start sauteing it. This recipe, everything basically bakes in a casserole dish. I don't really like the name of the recipe being called a casserole. I feel like that means that it's going to be something that's like super heavy, maybe doused with like cream or cheese or something. This is not like that. You do bake it in a casserole dish, but it's super delicious and still really healthy. Okay, so I'm just going to dice our onion up. So I do that. I cut it in half. Bring the cutting board sort of to the edge. Make sure that your cutting board is nice and stable and not sliding all the way around your countertop. An easy way to get it to stay in place is just to put a damp paper towel underneath of your board. And then we're going to slice it, or I should say dice, using sort of a sideways cut. And we're going to cut down perpendicular to that and then cross the other way. This helps get the onion to be in a uniform shape, but does require a sharp knife. So do yourself a favor and sharpen your knives if you haven't done that in a while. It really, really makes the experience in the kitchen so much nicer. All right, so doing the same thing with this side, this other half of the onion. You can substitute red onion, use what you have already in the pantry. Red onion, yellow onion, sweet onion, white onion. I'm a big fan of utilizing what I already have on hand. Okay, so that is our onion. I'm going to turn on the heat over here at the stove top. Let's see. It's about a medium temperature. We're going to add some oil to the pan. And we're going to let that get nice and warm before we add any food to the pan. While that's warming up, I want to talk to you about my spoon here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this spoon has a yellow, it was a wooden spoon and it has a yellow tint to it. And that is because at some point in one of these cooking classes, I used this spoon with turmeric. It is a super, let me show you turmeric. It's in this container. It's a root. You can see a picture of it on this jar. It's a root just like garlic is a root. It kind of looks like garlic if you were to buy it fresh. But in the jar, you can see it's super yellowy orange and it will stain your utensils. So that is why I chose to use the same spoon today, because it's already been stained one time. But it will not stain like a, like a stainless steel utensil. It's not going to stain that. But if you have wood, or if you have some kind of plastic, like white plastic especially, it will definitely stain that. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to stain your cookware. It will probably stain your clothing. I made the mistake one time when I was in culinary school. We were doing some sort of big prep with a big prep day with turmeric. I have no idea what we were making. I can't remember, but we used fresh turmeric, and part of it was just processing it and chopping it up really fine. And I did not wear gloves for that. And my hands, the tips of my fingers, it had looked like it looked like I'd been painting with yellow paint. And it stayed like that for several days. So if you're working with fresh turmeric, definitely recommend wearing some like plastic gloves.
I can attest to that. I told Ashley that I made some turmeric chicken this weekend, and my cutting boards, wooden cutting boards, it's really hard to get out of. Like, they're still
oh man, yes.
yellow.
Did you use fresh turmeric?
Did I use what? Fresh? No, I used just a seasoning. Yeah.
Okay, but you still, yeah. Same issue. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, if you want to try to get fresh turmeric, we're not using fresh turmeric in this class, and you definitely don't have to get the health benefits. But if you want to try fresh turmeric, and you can use it in either one of these recipes we're going to make today, or any recipe that calls for turmeric. It actually grows really well in Georgia, so you might find it at a farmer's market. I know I got it. I had been ordering fresh local produce from this organization called Fresh Harvest, and I got it in my kind of like a CSA style food basket. I got it in my basket back in, like, I want to say November or December. So it definitely is grown here locally, and you can find it. It's harder to find in the grocery store though. So, but if you happen to come across it, it's kind of nice to try. It has a really nice fresh flavor. And if you do use it in one of these recipes, you may want to increase the turmeric, like bump it up to, in this recipe, we're using 2 teaspoons dried, but you could bump it up to like a tablespoon if you're using fresh.
Ashley, this is Ela.
Hey.
The fresh turmeric is available at any Indian grocery store. Patel Brothers is one of them in Decatur, and they always have fresh turmeric, fresh ginger, and all the fresh herbs, cilantro, and etc.
Love it. Thank you. I've been to that grocery store. I used to have a roommate who was from India, and he took me to that grocery store. It's awesome. They have such fresh produce. I love it. I haven't gone over there in a long time, but maybe I'll have to check it out again.
Yeah, and
cool.
very
Thank you for
reasonably priced. Yeah, very reasonably priced compared to the other stores.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that tip.
Sure.
Okay, so we have the onions in there, and now we are going to go ahead and get our garlic ready. So I have 4 cloves of fresh garlic here, and I'm just going to smash each one to easily remove the skin. So garlic, another one of those incredible ingredients that comes to mind when I think of the phrase food is medicine. For those of you that already know the health benefits of turmeric, can you go ahead and type if I was to ask you what is the health benefit of turmeric, can you type your answer out in the chat box? We'll go through those and see if you guys probably already know, because you guys are so smart, what the health benefits of turmeric are. And then we'll touch on those when I switch to the other recipe. So I'm just mincing this up really quickly. I'm going to add it into the onions along with our spices. So our spices in here, in addition to the turmeric, we're going to add cumin and black pepper. So I don't know what the science is behind this, but for some reason, combining freshly cracked black pepper with turmeric helps its absorption in the body. So don't forget your pepper when you're making this or other recipes that contain turmeric, because it's going to help your body get the most bang for its buck from that turmeric. All right, our garlic is ready to go in. Let's just bring it over here to the pan. And then we're going to also add some other things here. So we have, this is just a little bowl of salt, the cracked black pepper, the turmeric, and the cumin that's going in. And then I'm also going to add some ginger. I don't know if you guys attended the cooking demo last month, but during that class, when I was shopping for that class, I could not find fresh ginger. So I had to replace it or substitute it with this jar of minced ginger. So we still have some of that left over. So I'm going to go ahead and just use it today in this recipe. And I'm going to follow the recommendation on the recipe, instead of using dried, to do 1 tablespoon of the fresh. I'm just going to add that in.
Ashley, I'm getting a couple responses about your question earlier.
Yeah.
Known for its anti-inflammatory properties, helps with arthritis, fights colds and infections, autoimmune, and for Crohn's disease, turmeric can be helpful. And one person said fresh turmeric can be found in grocery stores. It comes in a mesh orange bag.
Ooh.
Ingalls in Blairsville has it.
Okay, cool. You guys are spot on all those responses. Kudos. You guys are up on your latest nutrition research. Those are all correct. And thank you for participating in the chat. I love it. Those are all correct. Amazing, amazing. And I'm sure it's like any of those, it's like anything else. We still have new things to discover too, in terms of the health benefits. Okay, so thank you for all of that. I've got the spices in here. You can see everything is turned really nice and orangey yellow. And now I'm going to add the coconut milk. Where is that? Here it is. So this is just 1 can of the full fat coconut milk, although you could definitely substitute the light version if you'd like to. So you'll see that when I add this into the pan, there is like a hard, sort of like a hard, almost like the fat sort of hardens at the top of the can. And then the rest comes out sort of like a coconut water. But when you mix it and the heat hits it, it's all gonna just come together here. So no worries. We'll just mix that all together. It's smelling amazing. And then I'm gonna transfer this the best I can, hopefully without making a huge mess, over to this casserole dish. Your recipe calls for a 9x12 or a 9x13 casserole pan. I thought we had one of those here, but actually we have a different size. Our size is smaller, 8x11.5. So we're gonna see how this does in a smaller pan. I think it should be fine. We might end up adding a little less chicken if we run out of space, but the rice part should be totally fine. Also forgot to mention, before you guys hopped on to the Zoom call, I started preheating our oven to 350 degrees. So that's already ready to go. Okay, so now we're gonna transfer this to the casserole pan. I'm gonna turn off the heat here. So I'm just gonna gently pour this without, try to not to splash it on yourself. Okay, that went pretty well. Now I'm gonna scrape the bottom. I don't wanna miss any of these onions here. Okay. Try to get all of that as much of that as I can here. We don't want to leave any of that flavor behind. Okay. And then to this hot mixture, we're going to add, I already rinsed and measured our rice. So we're going to add the rice in. This is just white Indian basmati rice. And then we're going to add the water. There's 3/4 of a cup of water going in. And we're also going to add some grated carrots. So I went ahead and started this. I just used a box grater like you would for cheese. I have a carrot here. I can just show you. I did a bunch of it already, but yeah, you just apply some pressure, run your carrot back and forth or up and down over top of this, and it works pretty well. I assume most everyone probably has a box grater. You can also use a food processor fitted with that shredding piece if you want to make it faster, but then you have to clean that. So I feel like the box grater is easier to clean. Okay, so that carrot goes in, and we're going to add a little bit of fresh lime juice as well. This is about 2 tablespoons of lime juice. And then I'm going to just make sure that everything, I'm just going to kind of gently stir everything around so that we get everything evenly mixed here. And then we basically just add the chicken on top and kind of get it down in the juices. Okay, so the chicken I'm using today is a boneless, skinless chicken thigh. You can definitely substitute boneless, skinless chicken breast for this if you prefer those. I like the thighs. I feel like they cook a little faster, and they don't dry out. And I don't know. I feel like they're a little more juicy than the breasts. So, but you definitely substitute breasts if you would like. Okay, so with this different size casserole dish, I'm only going to put 4 pieces in here. That's probably about just a pound. I think the pack we got today was of these thighs was closer to 2 pounds. So I'm not going to have enough room for all of that. But you can see I'm sort of I'm kind of putting them underneath the liquid a little bit. You may not be able to submerge them quite like this if you are using the correct size pan. So if they're coming out of the liquid more than they are in this, that's what you would expect. That's what happened to me when I did this, when I made this recipe before. Okay, so that is it. It's ready to go in the oven. You just take a piece of foil, cover it up, put it in your preheated oven, and you're good to go. So I feel like it's one of those recipes that's pretty simple to prep, and it's sort of like just, stick it in there and wait kind of thing. So it's pretty hands-off for the cooking part of it. And also, when I made this, when I've made this before, it's great for leftovers. So I ended up eating it like a couple different times with like just a little bit of rice, the chicken, reheated it in the microwave for lunch, and it actually reheats really, really well. Another thing you can consider too, if you don't want, like a ton of leftovers, you can definitely freeze like individual batches of this, and it should thaw totally fine. So that's another thing to consider. So when that comes out of the oven, we're going to add some fresh cilantro on top, and we will have a beautiful rice dish. Now, it's going to take at least 40 minutes, if not closer to 45 or 50 minutes to get that rice completely finished. So it may not finish cooking 100%, but you guys are going to get to see basically the end product anyway. So we'll check on it. I will set my timer for 40 minutes. Oh no, that's going to actually take us over the class time. So I'll set my timer for 35 minutes, or maybe closer to 30. So 30 minutes, yeah. So we'll grab that out in 30 minutes, check on it. It's not going to be finished cooking, but you guys will get to see what it looks like, and it actually may surprise us. We'll see if it's done or not. I'm going to stick the rest of this chicken in the fridge.
Ashley, Cindy asked if instead of chicken, can she use tofu or tempeh?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would do something to the tofu or tempeh to kind of definitely press out the tofu and maybe do some sort of like sear on it or some sort of, because it's not going to get any browning or any, it's going to absorb the liquid from the rice and stuff like that. So it'll get flavor that way. But if you like, it depends on how you like your tofu. If you like it soft, then it's fine. Just dice it up, put it in like I did the chicken, sort of like mix the liquid on top of it and bake it that way. And then it will be like a softer tofu. Or if you want to kind of like brown it ahead of time, you can cook the rice in this way and then add your add your browned tofu on top of it that way. I've also kind of thought about like, what would this taste like? Now I haven't tested it, but what would this taste like with some sort of like beans added to it? And I will say one time when I did reheat this, I had some leftover cooked lima beans, or butter beans, already cooked, and I mixed those into the rice, and that was delicious. I also had some leftover like steamed broccoli that I added into it, and you could also add any like leftover roasted Brussels sprouts. So it's a nice flavor that can complement a lot of different stuff. You could do shrimp with it, and don't feel like you have to cook the protein in the rice. You could, cook the protein separately. Like if it's shrimp, you can that takes like a few minutes to saute, and then you can add it into the rice. So hopefully that answers your question. Tempeh is the same way. I don't do a whole lot of cooking with tempeh. It definitely has its own nice flavor. So you could probably just cook it how you're going to cook it and then eat it with the rice. Also, don't be, I know this is white rice, which doesn't have as much fiber as brown rice. So if that is a concern for you, then what I would do is take this recipe, make it exactly as it's listed, but substitute the brown rice. Don't cook it in the oven, just cook it in a pot and do the exact same thing. You might lower the cooking time a little bit, but you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to add the water, the coconut milk, all the spices. You're going to saute the onion beforehand. You're going to add the ginger, all of that stuff. It's just that brown rice takes like double the time as white rice. So if you're going to cook that in the oven, it's going to take like hours. So do it in a pot. But if you do like the white rice, and you're okay with eating white rice, then there's other ways you can add fiber to the meal. Think about other ways you can add fiber to the meal. Like I said, with the butter beans, or with the added extra vegetables, or with a side salad. Those are all going to be ways to add the fiber, that's missing from the rice. So it kind of depends upon your personal preference. But there's ways to, hopefully you guys, that made sense. There's ways to adjust based on your goals.
Yeah, that's really helpful. My 3-year-old has already figured out that she prefers white rice. And every time I say I'm cooking with rice, she said, "Is it the white kind?" She already knows.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I mean, there's nothing, white rice is not going to kill you. I mean, it can be incorporated into like a healthy diet. So just think about those other ways that you can add the fiber, and the carrots are going to help. But think about some other ways you can, add on some veggies to bump, or beans to bump up the fiber a little bit. Okay, so that is the rice. And so now I'm going to move on to the next recipe over here on the other side of the countertop. So this recipe is utilizing turmeric in a dressing.
Ashley, we did have a question. Eileen asked if you could describe what turmeric tastes like and if it's spicy.
Oh, good question. Okay, to me, it's one of those spices you want to check the date, because it doesn't always, I mean, this is fresh. This was purchased maybe a month or two ago, and the date is May 2022, or 24. So anyways, this one is very, very fresh. There is a smell. I don't really know how to describe the smell, because it's like its own unique smell. But if you have your own jar of turmeric at home, take a smell make sure it has some sort of smell, because if it doesn't smell like anything, then you know that it's old and it needs to be replaced, and it's not going to have the same impactful health properties if it's old. So definitely give it a smell. I don't really know how to say what it smells like because it literally smells like nothing I've ever smelled before. But in terms of the flavor, it does not have a super duper strong flavor. It will, if you add too much, kind of not a great flavor, but if you stick to the recipe, and it's not going to be like an overwhelming flavor. It's more of what you're going to notice is the color. And it's not spicy. But you can definitely overdo it. Like I think, I can't remember exactly what happened, but anyways, I was at home. We added turmeric to a smoothie. I don't remember the story around it or what the flavors were or anything like that, but it was not good. It was too much. The flavor is, I don't even know if you would say bitter, because I don't know if that's the right, I don't know. It's just wrong. So you can't add too much. I mean, I'm saying you can. Yes, you can add too much. But if you stick to like a moderate to low amount, it's not going to you're not going to notice the flavor so much.
If anyone on here cooks with turmeric a lot and think of a good way to describe it, I'm trying. I don't know if you would say mustardy.
Yeah.
It tastes like the color yellow.
I don't know. It's its own thing. Does anyone have it at home? Pull it out of your spice cabinet real quick and see and smell it and see if anybody has a way to describe it, please let us know. Okay.
Please.
Yeah.
Sheila again. It does not have a flavor, but it has some kind of a turmeric or ginger smell. And it is, if you just take the powder by itself and put it on your tongue, it will be slightly bitter, but it does not have any heat in it or sweetness or anything. It's just a powder, yellow powder that's good for your health.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, that's why on your hand, if you guys look at the recipe handout on the bottom, I included some easy ways to just use turmeric in any everyday cooking. Because of that, because it doesn't have a super strong flavor, you can add it to things and not even know that it's there. So some examples of that would be adding it to like anything with eggs, because eggs usually when you cook eggs, they're already the same color as the turmeric, so you won't even notice, like egg salad, scrambled eggs, frittata, tofu scrambles, any kind of vegetables that you're roasting. You can add it to rice before it's cooked, greens as they're cooking, use it in soup, blend it into a salad dressing, use it in a smoothie, or there's something called golden milk, which just Google it if you've never heard of it. It is basically like a drink you use. You can make it like a hot drink that you can, or cold, I guess, that uses usually like a nut milk or a cow's milk and turmeric and some other spices. It's really, really, really delicious. And it's golden because it's got the turmeric in it. We've made it in this class before. I don't know if anybody remembers, but okay, I'm getting this water started here on the stovetop. Let's see. It does not want to cooperate. There it goes. There's just water in this pot, nothing else. And I'm just going to bring it up to a boil because I'm going to show you guys first how to make this dressing. It's a ginger turmeric dressing. And then I'm going to show you what you can serve with it. And the idea we're doing today is we're just going to blanch, like super duper easy. This is a technique, blanching. It's an easy technique. I feel like everyone should know it for cooking vegetables. So I'll teach you guys how to do blanching really quickly with broccoli and green beans. Okay, so onto the salad dressing with the turmeric. This recipe it came from a site called myquietkitchen.com. And she made it to mimic some kind of almond butter turmeric salad dressing from Trader Joe's. I don't know if anybody has ever tried that before, but it's sold in their refrigerated section. It may have been something that was available a long time ago, I'm not sure. Almond turmeric salad dressing from Trader Joe's. Let me know if you guys have tried that before. I couldn't find it in the store, but anyways, the flavor of this is really good. It uses almond butter. And you can substitute a different kind of nut butter. When I tested this recipe a few months ago, I used like a mixed nut butter that had a bunch of different nuts in it. So one thing with nut butter, if it's a natural nut butter and it only has the nut as the ingredient, then it's gonna, usually it comes with like some oil separation at the top. So this is a brand new jar of almond butter. Don't throw that oil out. Don't dump it in the trash. I don't remember when it was several years ago in this cooking class. I kind of thought everyone knew to stir that in, but it's not true. Don't throw that away, because we had that mistake happen one time in this class. And then if you do dump that oil off the top, then your nut butter is going to be really, really dry. So definitely take that step when you first buy it to stir the oil in. And also check your ingredients, because when you're buying this in the store, the only ingredient you need in there is the nut itself. So this one has just almonds. You might see salt in there, but you don't want to have any like oils or sugar or anything like that. Okay, so this is really all it took to get that oil stirred in. And now we're gonna go ahead and start measuring for our.
Some comments about the nut butter. One person said it smells woody or nutty. And then another person said, dash it on your salads or I add it to oatmeal porridge.
Ooh, okay, cool. I love it. I love those descriptions too. Woody. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, but yes, I agree. Okay, so we're doing 1/4 cup of almond butter. And rather than try to get it into 1/4 measuring cup, I'm just using a tablespoon measure here so I can kind of dip it down into the jar. Let me see what the best way to do this is. Let me grab another spoon. Okay. Okay, so there's 4 tablespoons in 1/4 cup. So that's 1, 2, 3. I mean, instead of dipping or trying to get it into 1/4 cup, I'm just dipping the spoon down in there. It's kind of one of those tricky things to measure. And like I said, you can substitute other nut butters. My kids have to do like nut-free at their school, so sometimes they get like a sunflower butter in their lunch. So you can do that. That's like a seed butter. There's so many different kinds of nut and seed butters now. Feel free to experiment. Okay, and then we have 1/2 cup of water. And you'll notice this dressing is not really, it's different because it doesn't use any oil. And we're using a lemon. We're using some zest from the lemon. This is a tool called a microplane. And I'm just turning the lemon. Oh, it smells so good. As I get the zest, it's such a great tool for getting the zest. It's super sharp. Okay, and then I'm going to, we need about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So can work on that. This is what I use to juice the lime, and it's totally fine to mix the flavors of those. I don't think it's going to make a big difference. But I like this juicer. It catches the seeds at the top, and it has such a sharp point at the top. It really gets into that citrus really well. Okay, so I ended up needing 2 lemons for this. You never know how juicy your citrus is going to be. One way you can double check in the grocery store when you buy it, make sure it's soft to the squeeze. If it's hard, that means it's old. And that really, I feel like really rings true for limes. Like the softer it is when you kind of squeeze it, the more juice it's going to have. If it's hard, then it's dried out and it's not going to have very much juice. Let's see how much we have here.
It's interesting. I always think of the hard ones as maybe not ripe yet, and then the soft ones as being.
That could be. All I know is that the hard ones don't have very much juice. They could be, yeah, they could have been picked too soon, I guess.
That might just be my Kroger. They don't have the best produce.
Okay, this recipe also calls for that ginger again. So I'm going to use the same exact jar. If you guys missed last class, the produce is like completely cleared out when I went to the grocery store. I don't remember what the issue was, but supply chain something. So I ended up having to buy this jarred ginger, and it's super convenient. It doesn't have quite the kick and heat that fresh cut ginger does, but it's fine. It works okay, and it does save you some time because you don't have to cut anything. So it's made by the ginger people, and it's just a minced ginger in the jar. All right, so, and then we have a garlic clove going into this. So here it is. Give that a whack. You don't really have to cut it or anything. Just remove the skin. You can let the food processor do the work for you on it. We have a couple teaspoons of maple going in. Definitely make sure you have, don't use the flavored syrup for maple. Use the real deal. I don't know what the flavored one is exactly, but this is, going to give you a really, really good flavor. And then, of course, we have our turmeric. Did I bring it over here? Here it is. About a teaspoon of fresh ground turmeric. Let's see. And you're going to notice this dressing is going to have our nice turmeric color. And then we also have a little bit of salt. So I've been doing something recently at home more than I have ever in the past, and that is meal prep. So like on the weekend or on a day during the week when I have extra time, I'm prepping like ahead a bunch of food. And one of the things I've been prepping ahead is dressings. So I like to have these like one or two different dressings ready to go in the refrigerator, just in like a mason jar. And it's just really nice to have on hand. I love the flavor of having a fresh dressing to either make for a salad or to have ready to go for like a dip for vegetables, or even just toss it on like canned beans or some cooked rice on like a grain bowl. I don't know, the options are endless. You don't have to think of it as only being used for salad. All right, so this is gonna be loud for a second as we blend it up. Okay, and I just noticed that my water for some reason never turned on over here. Let me get this going. Let's see if it'll turn on this time. Oh, I know why it didn't turn on, because I have it on the wrong. I tried to turn on the wrong burner. Okay, I think it's turning on now. Okay, so let me just double check our dressing here and see how it came out. We don't want any chunks of garlic in there. So let's see. I'm just gonna run this knife around here. I'm gonna scrape there. It looks like some almond butter kind of stuck to the bottom. So I'm just gonna scrape that around and then we'll just, it should be good to go. But storing these dressings, if you're gonna make some ahead, store them in a jar, a mason jar with a lid. I find is like super easy because then you can shake it to stir it, because it will separate as it sits in the refrigerator. And they usually last, like 5-6 days is their shelf life. But okay, so let me get this off of here. I'm gonna pour it into a little, let's see what I can find. Okay, a little container. The color is really nice. just something different, you know. I can of course buy salad dressings, but there's something about making it yourself. You get to choose the ingredients, they're fresh. So, I mean, anything you make from scratch has a fresh flavor, but if the goal is to eat more vegetables, which I don't know, I feel like should be a goal for everyone. To eat more vegetables, it's really nice to get that, get some kind of new exciting flavor to dip them in or to eat them with. And this might be a new unique one to add to the rotation. Okay, so I'm waiting for this water to come up to a boil. I'm sure our rice is not done yet, and my timer has not gone. Let's see how much time is on my timer. It's got 8 minutes. So let me see. Okay, so let's talk about blanching. This is just a pot of water. When you blanch, the nice thing about blanching compared to steaming, so when you steam a vegetable, you're setting the vegetable basically on top of the water, and you're letting the steam from the water cook the vegetable, which is totally fine. But you end up getting more flavor into the vegetable by blanching, because what happens is we are going to salt the water. And we're just going to add enough salt to have this taste just a little less salty than the ocean. I don't know how much that's going to be, but let's see. We'll try that, and then we'll kind of let's see. We will kind of stir it around in there, and then we can just taste it. Here, probably the best spoon for this. And you have to kind of you'll get used to the level of water, your salt. Every salt is a little different. This is like a super fine sea salt, whereas if kosher salt, a little bit goes a long way with kosher salt. It's extra, I feel like it gets extra salty sometimes with that. Right, so let's bring that up to a boil. But basically, back to the steaming and blanching comparison. When you steam, the vegetable sitting on top of the steam, so it's getting cooked, but it's not getting submerged. With blanching, you're submerging the vegetable under the water with that salt, and so the salt is sort of almost like a marinade. Like it's basically like the salt is kind of going into the vegetable, and it's getting absorbed inside of like the cell walls of the vegetable. So you're getting a lot more flavor. And I don't know, I just feel like it's an underutilized cooking technique for vegetables. And it works really, really well with broccoli and green beans. And how convenient to buy the broccoli and green beans like this. It's already trimmed, already pre-washed. So as soon as this comes up to a boil, we will put the vegetables in there, and they will cook for like 90 seconds. And then these green beans are especially nice because they're already in the shape for dipping, which is nice. If you have little ones in the house, all of a sudden dipping becomes like a thing. It's like a tool, or I don't know, like an eating technique that's favored by the little ones. So let's hope this comes up to a boil here quickly. Sorry about that. Does anyone have any questions while we wait? Let me know in the chat box if you do. I might as well go ahead and double check our rice. I don't think it's going to be done anyways, even if we wait 5 more minutes. But I want you guys to see, even if you're not going to be able, obviously you're not here, so you can't taste it anyways, but it'll look like it's finished. The rice will look like it's finished cooking, when in reality, it'll probably still be like a little bit tough to bite into. So let's see. But I might as well do that so we don't run out of time. Okay, I'm just going to use this towel. I can tell it's not finished because I don't smell it quite as strongly as I would normally. But, okay, so we're going to roll this towel down, get it out of here.
While Ashley is getting that out, I was going to let everybody know about our next nutrition seminar, which is going to be February 15th, the third Tuesday of the month at noon. And the topic is heart health. So if you guys are interested in joining that, I'll put the slide up here, the flyer. I also hope you guys will join us for that.
Oh my gosh, guys, this is not cooked at all. I wonder if the oven is okay. Maybe it was because of the size of the pan. This has never happened before. But anyways, I'll let you see it. This might be like our first actual real big fail on this class, on these classes. But it actually looks exactly like it looked. Can you guys see that? It looks exactly like it looked when we put it in. It's probably the size of the pan. It's not able to, like, so normally in a 9 by 13, it's able to spread out. And really when I make it, it's like a super thin layer of rice at the bottom. So it's able to come up to a boil or to like a simmer actually in the oven. So you actually see in the oven when it's cooking that it's like simmering the rice. And I think with this, like, look how deep it is. It's way too deep. So this is a good lesson. I'm glad you guys aren't here and expecting to eat chicken, because this is not going to be finished. And if this was, happening to me at home, it just needs a lot more time. Maybe what I would do is remove the chicken, bake the chicken separately, and transfer that rice to a pot and cook the rice on the stovetop in a pot. This totally didn't work at all. It actually does work though, I promise, if you do the 9 by 13 pan. I promise. I've done it a million times. It's just the size of the pan. It's too deep, and it wasn't able to come up to a simmer like it normally would to cook everything. That is hilarious, you guys. Yeah, because it still has, it should at least be absorbing and simmering the liquid. So sorry about that. I promise you, please, if you try this at home, don't be scared to try it at home. I promise. It actually does work. The recipe is really, really good and really, really delicious. Okay, hold on one second. I'm just going to stick it back in. I don't think it's definitely not going to get cooked, but maybe it'll at least cook a little bit more here. But yes, if that happens, if something like that would be happening, just don't freak out. Don't panic. You can pivot. So the way that I would pivot for that would take the chicken out, put it on a sheet pan on its own, put it back in the oven for like at least 20 minutes or until it reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Take the rice, just dump it all in a big pot like this, and bring it up to a simmer, put the lid on. It'll probably cook for maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and it should be finished. Okay, so this is now coming up to a simmer, and it's going to be really easy what we do here. We're going to open these bags and dump them in. Okay, so broccoli is, I feel like, the fastest, 90 seconds tops, and it will still have a nice like bite to it, but it's going to be great for dipping. All right, so these came really fresh. We actually did something different this time for the cooking class. Instead of actually physically going into the grocery store and shopping, we ordered the groceries from Amazon Fresh, I think is what it's called. So I just went into my Amazon account and I ordered the groceries that we needed for today. And then Emily went and picked them up at the store, and it worked out perfectly. Everything was really fresh. Like the quality, I get weary of that sometimes because they have to make substitutions or the quality is not as fresh, but they didn't substitute anything, and the quality of what it was excellent. Okay, so like I said, about 90 seconds for this. Some of these florets are really, really big. So.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey.
This is Ela. Did you put any salt in the water or no?
Yeah.
You did, right? Okay, great.
Okay, so yes, we did add salt to this.
Okay.
And
that's what makes it keep its green color, right?
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about this blanching technique is that the vegetables are submerged in that water. The salt is absorbing into the broccoli. You're getting that extra flavor instead of like if you were to steam and then salt afterwards, the salt would just sit right on top of the surface of the vegetable and it's not going to get it absorbed in there. It's kind of like you can think of it as sort of like a way to marinate and get that flavor in there. Okay, well, yeah. I didn't set a timer, but this is close to like 90 seconds is all you really need for this. So I have the plate here with the dressing, and what you can do, so there's a couple of different steps here. You can take the broccoli out and put it into like an ice bath or run it under really cold water to cool it down. Or, you can have it warm if you want to eat it warm. If you're eating it right away, you can definitely just keep it like warm and do it this way. Okay, so that is for the broccoli. I'm going to pull out the rest of it onto a different plate. Oops. And then we'll do the green beans really quickly. But the idea with this is that you would literally just take the broccoli, dip it. These are nice. This is a nice way to add vegetables to like a crudité style dish where, or like an appetizer where you're for like a gathering. But who does gatherings anymore? What's a gathering? So, anyways, I've been, like I said, prepping ahead. So I would like prep a bunch of blanched vegetables on one day and then just have those ready for the week and add them to different like rice dishes like this chicken and rice casserole. These are the green beans going in. Just do the whole bag. Just have them prepped in your refrigerator ready to go. I find that my kids will eat the veggies if they have a fun dip that they like. And if they're blanched, like I said, they're getting some salt absorbed into the inside of the vegetable, and that is really bringing out their nice, delicious flavor. So green beans take a little longer, maybe close to like 2 minutes. It depends upon how crunchy you want them to be. So we'll just give those a little bit of time, and then I'm just going to add those around the other side of this. And I don't have the chicken dish to show you guys. Gosh, I feel so bad about that. Who knew we didn't have a 9x13 pan in here, and who knew that made such a big difference? I didn't even think of that because I'd never cooked it in a small pan before. But now that it happened, it makes total sense.
It's an important lesson. Pan size matters.
Absolutely. In this case, it did. If you guys have any questions about the chicken dish, if that wasn't clear on what happened or why or how to change it, please let me know in the chat box. We can discuss it a little bit more. Hopefully I was clear on what happened and everything like that. But we will know for the future. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pop these out. Their class is almost over. But definitely try this. You could buy pre-cut vegetables from the store, so you have that option. But if you're looking to just meal prep a couple vegetables to have on hand to add into different dishes, I highly recommend blanching. And it's so fast, right? And other vegetables that would be good for this would be like snap peas or cauliflower. Look, one of them fell right in the dip, ready for me to try. Let's see what it tastes like.
Actually, somebody asked if when you say that you blanch vegetables for the week, what do you keep them in for storage?
Mm-hmm. So you would just run them under cold water. You don't want to put anything in the fridge that's too hot. So to cool them quickly, just run them under cold water, dry them, just pat them dry. They don't have to be super, super dry. And then I just put them in like a glass Pyrex. I try to store, like when I'm doing meal prep, I try to store things, especially if I'm going to reheat them in that actual container. I try to store things in glass. So just some like, glass Pyrex, or, there's a bunch of different brands that make glass storage containers. Or in a glass bowl. I just keep them in there, and they'll last for around 5 days. And I literally just add, like, you can add these blanched vegetables to salads, or like I said, any rice dish, or just eat them by itself as a side dish.
How long would you say the dressing lasts for?
Same thing. So the general recommendation for anything that's cooked and fresh, cooked from scratch, or even blended, like this has fresh garlic in it. So if it has an ingredient that's going to go bad and it's cooked or mixed, the general recommendation is 5 days. So because I do like a ton of cooking and meal prep in our refrigerator, I will label things with the day that I cooked it, so that I can, because I will completely forget. But you can just use like a Post-it note or something like that to, or like a piece of painter's tape to just write the day that you cooked it. And then you'll just know 5 days from then, you got to use it up or freeze it. Like on the chicken dish, you can definitely freeze, use it up. And actually even on these dressings, I forgot that. Yes, you can definitely freeze the dressings too. So if you want to have a bunch of like pre-prepped dressings in your freezer that you can just pull out and thaw, that is like a really good thing to keep on hand. You can just make like a huge batch of it, freeze like a cup, and then thaw it out and you're ready to go. Or if you see that it's going to go bad in your refrigerator and you're like going to go out of town or something, just pop it in the freezer before that 5 days. So I hope that helps. Any other questions? You guys, the dressing is delicious. Definitely try it. It is got really, really good nutty, gingery flavor.
I'm excited to try that dressing.
See if you can find it at Trader Joe's.
Yeah. Somebody did ask if the Pyrex can go in the freezer.
Yes, definitely. Anything that's glass, whatever brand it may be, can go in the freezer. So you just want to make sure if it has some sort of like liquid or something, like a soup, you want to make sure that you give it some room to expand in the freezer. Like at least leave like about like an inch or so at least at the top, like 3/4. Only fill it 3/4 of the way, so that it has room to expand in the freezer. Because in those glass jars, like, if you fill it all the way up, it might explode in your freezer, and you definitely don't want that. But yes, anything glass can freeze.
Another question about the blanching. How much salt would you say you added?
So there's no measurement. The measurement you want to go by is taste it. Don't burn your tongue, but taste it, make it a little less salty than the ocean, and get used to it. Get used to doing it without measuring it. If it's too salty, add more water. If it's not salty enough, obviously add more salt. You can just adjust it. There's no hard measurement. And it's not, don't get too, I don't know what the science is on how much is absorbed, but not all of it is absorbed. There's still like a ton of salt in this water here. And if you want to do something with this water right here, know that it is a little bit salty, but you could use it to, cook rice or make soup or something like that if you want to save it and use it for something else, because this does have a little bit of vegetable flavor in it.
All right. Well, it is past 12 o'clock, so I want to be mindful of your time. Thank you so much, Ashley, for the wonderful presentation. This all looks so delicious. I know we're anxious to get you guys back here tasting this wonderful food. But thank you for joining us for the virtual program today. And the recipes are available on our website, cscatlanta.org, under nutrition. They'll be at the bottom of the page. And also we recorded this session, so that'll be posted on your website as well on videos. Just a reminder, our next nutrition seminar will be February 15th, and to kick off Heart Month, the topic will be heart health. with dietitian Kristen Kupolowski from Northside Hospital Cancer Institute. So I hope that you guys will join us for that. And other than that, just have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Ashley.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining Cancer Support Community Atlanta for this program. If you're interested in other live or recorded programs, please visit the online program tab of our website, cscatlanta.org, or follow us on Facebook. We'll be sharing additional information on upcoming programs.